The John LeBank Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John LeBank Show.
Tonight's first question is, would you like to live in Earth's orbit for the rest of your life? Because apparently within 20 years or so, we'll be able to live in little colonies up in Earth's orbit, up there floating around the planet. And these little colonies, according to scientists, are going to be these little pods that rotate in a little circle there so they can have gravity. And human beings will be able to spend their entire existence up there in a little pod floating around the Earth. Apparently that's a good thing that we'll be able to do that. And would you, as a human being, take the opportunity to go up into space and live up there permanently in a little space pod? You'd have your own like little Deep Space Nine capsule there. Apparently you'll be able to live longer, according to the scientists that are suggesting we'll be able to do this within 20 years or so. You might even grow taller, kind of like how your ancestors, even though they weren't in space, your ancestors were usually a little shorter than you were. Could be a human thing that we keep getting taller instead of a space thing, but according to these scientists, you would actually get taller in space. Maybe that's possible. Less weight pulling you down, I guess, in gravity. You wouldn't be able to have McDonald's every weekend. I guess if you're floating around in a pod every day, maybe. I mean, will they have little like drive-through Burger Kings up in space? I mean, it's going to be. There's already a lot of traffic up there with all the satellites and all the military gadgets that happen to be up there in the space station. And are they really going to want to have average, everyday human beings living in pods floating around space when we have the International Space Station that does things that sometimes they turn the cameras off because we're not allowed to watch whatever they're doing or whatever's going on outside the pod there. So I don't know how that's all going to fit in, and all the spy satellites and then the technology satellites, for the internet and the phones and all that. The communication satellites is the proper term. So I don't know where they're going to fit these pods. If they have different levels, I guess they could have them in orbit. You can have high orbit or low orbit. And I'm not sure which one they're discussing here, but they're thinking it's a good thing and that people will be up there in 20 years, the average everyday human being. We saw that they're already talking about having a couple people fly around the moon. Couple average everyday human beings who can afford a lot of money to be on that space flight. I'm sure a little tourist there. I'm sure two average everyday person like yourself or myself will have a chance at that first ride right around the moon. I'm sure. I believe they already have the people scheduled for that. So that's in the news. And have you noticed, this is just me because I don't know how people do it. I honestly do not know how people do it anymore. Listening, paying attention to, reading from the lamestream manufactured news. Because it's not even news, it's more like the stupid people report. And either you've got reporters who report things in the most idiotic manner, or they are interviewing people on the scene of the event who have the IQ of a kumquat. So when it comes to getting your news, I don't understand how a lot of people continue to go to the mainstream media, mainstream manufactured news there to get their news from. We have other space news that is being reported. We have apparently China is building a space-based laser weapon, and they also have microwave weapons to neutralize web and satellite of their enemies. And so we're going to have that up in space, along with these pods up in space and all the the satellites from all the telephone companies and the technology companies, communication companies. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going around in space, and we brought up the article a few weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, about they were already discussing having a space police force because it's getting so busy up in space, and now we're moving into the age where average everyday citizens, I'm sure, every little poor folk, I'm sure, will be able to go up into space and live in a little pod up there in space all by your lonesome, away from everybody else. You just float around in space. You get, it'd be good for the introverts, I guess. The introverts would have a good time up there. I don't particularly see it as being fun, but I could see it as a visiting, a little tourist activity, going up and, we're in a space station or a little pod, and check it out for a little while, a day or two, maybe. But to live up there in space, in Earth's orbit, just doesn't seem like it would be very fun. I'd rather be down here on Earth where I could see rain and snow, and even though some of those things aren't the greatest, they're sure a lot, there's only so many times you can watch the darkness of space and see the Earth go spinning around before you get bored. Like when you're down on the planet, you can go to different places and see new things all the time. And you don't have to worry about air so much like you do in space. You run out of air for some reason and you're a little bit in trouble there. So what else do we have on the space front? We got NASA. They're going to launch a solar probe mission to the surface of the sun, and they're claiming, this person who wrote this article, it's going to protect the Earth from a huge solar event. And this is where I was getting into the stupid report earlier. I want to know how a little probe that we're going to send way out there by the sun is going to protect us. Because if some massive solar event happens on the sun, I don't know what it's going to do, if it's going to put deflector shields up to protect the Earth or not. But I doubt it. I think that little probe there is going to get cooked real fast if something happens with the sun that could cook the Earth. Just saying, if the Earth is, or if the sun is shooting off something towards the Earth that could really damage us badly, fry us, cook us, whatever, that probe is going to be cooked, and it won't be able to protect the Earth. It's just going to warn us, death is heading your way, Earth. Kiss your tutu goodbye. But the stupid person writing this report writes it to make it sound like it's out there protecting the Earth. It's not going to protect the Earth. And if there's a scientist that believes it's going to protect the Earth, it's not. It may warn the Earth something's coming. That's about it. When you send a scout out, and that's what a probe is, a scout, and he gets shot, chances are he didn't protect anything. And you'll be lucky to get the information that he got shot. What else do we have here? Could mysterious cosmic light flashes be powering alien spacecraft? Yeah, this was an interesting article that, again, it's more like the stupid people report. The person writing this article says, bizarre flashes of cosmic light may actually be generated by advanced alien civilizations as a way to accelerate interstellar space travel to tremendous speeds. And they're saying a new study suggests this. Astronomers have cataloged just 20. So they see 20 little lights way out in space, super bright flashes as they are claiming. And which they are known as fast radio bursts. They actually have a name for that. And since 2007, when they first registered these, when they first noticed them, and that's probably because we had equipment powerful enough to register them, and before that we were a little undercapable for that purpose. So galaxies billions of light years away are having these little bloop, little flashes of light, and these brilliant scientists who've done a study on them, all 20 they've seen, have come up with the idea that these are possibly ET with their super really fast space travel taking off. So it's like the warp drive. It's like on Star Trek, it's like, Mr. Data, engage. Yes, Captain. And then you take off, right? Zoom, and it's gone. That's what they're suggesting. Of course, the aliens haven't even been proven to be of existence yet. We haven't been able to actually find alien life forms here or anywhere else we've been, which is what? The moon and Mars. We haven't really gone that far out of our neighborhood. I mean, we got a big backyard, folks, and it's going to take us a long time just to get to the most furthest distant little body called that Pluto planet or semi-planet or non-planet, depending on who you are and what generation you're from and which scientist you're talking to. It's going to take us years to travel out there as human beings and actually go that far. Yet we have scientists who did a study on 20 flashing lights, deciding that it's a good chance it's alien life form taking off at record super light speed, shoom, and they're gone, flying at incredible rates to all parts of the galaxy except here, because they probably came here, saw how crazy the human beings were, and said, you know what,
we don't want anything to do with these people. Let's leave.
And even if they were going to invade, they were probably like,
these guys are crazy.
And said they took off. So, I mean, the only alien we can prove right now is the dude who spent like $50,000 on over like 100 procedures to like transform his whole body into this alien body, and eventually he's going to be genderless, and he's going to have his schmeckle, and then we won't be able to call him a he. We'll have to call him a Z. He's an alien Z.
These guys are crazy.
And maybe he can start a radio show. I don't know. And not only is his schmeckle going to be removed, but he wants his nipples and his belly button removed, because apparently aliens don't have nipples, they don't have genitals, and they don't have a belly button. And to become an alien, what you need to do is have surgery to become an alien.
These guys are crazy.
And that's as far as we've come in the discovery of aliens, is we found one person who's a little bit, mixed up in the head there, thinking he's an alien because he paid for all the surgeries to make him an alien. And he's going to have his schmeckle removed.
These guys are crazy.
Break time, folks. More on the flip side.
Hey, don't touch that dial. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
I promise. if you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too.
Hey, Leroy, turn on John's show.
Okay, Uncle Shady.
That's not John's show.
I know, Uncle Shady.
Well, whoever they are, they're lame.
You can say that again, Uncle Shady.
You sure you have the right station?
Yep, Alien Sex Radio, Uncle Shady.
I wish I could have some alien sex. Hell, I'd take any sex at my age.
That's TMI, Uncle Shady.
Well, then never mind.
So what do we do now, Uncle Shady?
Well, hit it once and then see if it works.
I don't think that's going to work, Uncle Shady.
Why? It does for the furnace.
Okay, Uncle Shady.
I said once, stupid. You don't know how to fix anything.
I think it's dead, Uncle Shady.
Well, if you beat the hell out of me, I'd be dead too. Let me call John and tell him.
This is the Banger Hotline. What say you?
Hey, John, why isn't your show on?
I don't know, Shady. I'm trying to figure it out. Show's ready and I'm here.
Well, why the hell aren't you on then?
Beats me. Everything's good on my end.
John, did you get fired?
Well, if I did, no one had the guts to tell me, Shady.
Well, if you're not fired, you should quit. This is the second time this has happened this year, and you're only in March. How are you supposed to keep listeners if you can't count on the show being played when it's supposed to be on, John?
And it's always late, Uncle Shady.
He's got a point there, John. People expect consistency.
Well, that's why I work so hard, Shady.
It doesn't matter how hard you work if someone is sabotaging you.
Well, I didn't say someone was sabotaging me, Shady.
No, I did.
But you know what?
What's that, John?
I'm starting to feel like Trump.
Minus his hot wife, the money, and the fame.
Well, yeah, I'm still working on those.
Well, good luck with that.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means you'll be lucky if you're not sleeping in a van down by the river soon, with all the people that owe you money. Now, when's the show going to be back on?
Hopefully right after this phone call, Shady.
Good, because I'm tired of hearing the chives and the yams.
Shady, before you go,
What's that?
are you going to come to tonight's Cool or Uncool?
Well, I always do, don't I?
Well, you didn't last hour, Shady.
I still called in, so that counts.
But you really didn't get to do a Cool or Uncool.
I gave you one, so that's your fault for talking too much and not letting me get back to bowling.
By the way, did you get that 300?
No, and it's all your fault.
How's it my fault, Shady?
I told you, you talk too much, and by the time I was going to take my last shot, they turned off the lane.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Uncle Shady, tell him about you peeing all over the counter guy when he wouldn't turn on the lane again.
There's no time for that now, Leroy. John's show's about to come on. I'll talk to you later, John. Bye.
You forgot to tell him about the computer, Uncle Shady.
Well, I was distracted.
Distracted by what, Uncle Shady?
Dropping a deuce. Leroy, hit that one more time and see if you can't get that thing to work again. I said one time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle Shady.
You know, Leroy,
What's that, Uncle Shady?
you're stupid.
You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man. Feel smarter yet?
You know, during the break, I was really thinking to myself, I'm like, my show has really turned into this BS detector. I'm pointing out on a daily basis this kind of BS and that kind of BS and how you can't trust this and you can't trust that and how the mainstream manufactured news is just a bunch of garbage. And then I'm like, you can't trust anybody at all. And when I began this road on this radio journey that I'm on, that was one of the first admonitions I made was Don't believe me. Don't believe this person. Don't believe that person. Do your own research, study, read all sides, listen to everything, but believe nothing. And it doesn't hold more true than now. It is incredible how lame the mainstream manufactured news has become. Every outlet is fighting for this story and that story to be the first on this and the first on that. And now we're getting news that they revise after the fact, yet they don't tell us they make the revision. They just hope you forget. And then when there is something breaking, you see the reporters reporting.
This is Bob Coxtaken, and I'm over here in the middle of Detroit where there's a massive fire, and we're talking to local residents because they're worried about the 15 people that haven't come out of the building. Sir, did you know anybody in there?
I saw it burning, man.
But did you know anybody?
No, I didn't know anybody, man. I live down the street.
Are you concerned that this might happen in your neighborhood again?
Oh, man, buildings burn down all the time around here. I was used to it.
As you can see, residents are concerned with the fire. Back to you.
They're either hyping up something because it's breaking and they want to be the first one on the scene to report it, and they get barely any concrete evidence, and it's all conjecture early on, and you hear a lot of this allegedly.
Allegedly, 20 people were in the building when the whole thing went up.
Do you know what started it?
Allegedly, it was a cigarette fire in a gas can, but that's not confirmed.
Or we get these stories that direct your thought, your consciousness, instead of reporting something that says, oh, we've seen 20 lights and that's all. We don't know anything beyond that. In deep space, we've seen 20 lights since 2007 that are unexplained phenomenon. No, they go ahead. It might be some kind of alien race. ET is going into warp speed. And we're watching the effects of it because we can see it from far away. Of course, they never warp speed here. They never show up on our doorstep and go,
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is on the microphone.
You never hear them say that. But we can think, even though we can't prove that there are aliens out there, that there's an ET somewhere in the outer reaches of the galaxy. We can't prove that. But we'll take it a step further because, hey, we want to believe that there are aliens. So if there are aliens, they've got to be more advanced than us. And because they've got to be more advanced than us, then they must be traveling through space at magnificent speeds. And we're witnessing them from billions of light years away. Now, I watched Star Trek a million times, okay? I mean, I'm a huge Trekkie. I don't ever recall any data confirmed by Data or Dr. LaForge or Geordi LaForge or Mr. Spock or Mr. Montgomery Scott that they could tell what happened billions of light years away when somebody took off using warp drive. When it came to the first Enterprise, they had all kinds of trouble. They would have never been able to track something like that. But apparently our scientists are far more advanced than Scotty and Mr. Spock. And the news likes to run with it. Because they want a good news story. It's much more exciting to tell you that it's possible that there's some alien in some distant galaxy using warp drive than it is to tell you they've seen 20 lights since 2007 and they can't explain what they are. So the writer gets creative and the scientist gets creative. And eventually you come up with a manufactured news story that's based on about 20% reality, and the rest of the news story is hyperbole, theory, speculation, wishful thinking. Yet people continue to go to these sources for their information. It boggles my mind. And because of all this, the show has turned into a, see, I told you this was BS, or see, this is BS, or see, that's BS. This is BS, and that's BS, and that's BS. You think I wasn't running the John LeBang show? It's more like the BS report. Because I got to report on the BS because you have the stupid people report coming out of the mainstream media. So that's that. Want to talk about the Satanists? Want to do that? There's like some devil worshippers out there now. They're all burning Bibles and stuff. We could talk about that. You know, there's been a rise of that. You know, you go to the Drudge Report. You know, the Drudge Report's getting to be like a tabloid in itself because it's talking a lot about the devil worshippers and some of the weird news. Because everybody's strapped for information. There's so many news sources out there, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody is strapped for news. And because there's not enough news to go around, people make up stuff, or you get even the Drudge Report, who has a lot of credibility in my eyes, now becoming a tabloid, and they're talking about devil worshiping and how they're burning Bibles and having sacrifices. And, you know, I thought that was for the, what was that? What's that rag back in the, you know, the Inquirer? For inquiring minds want to know, you know? It's like the Drudge minds want to know. And I actually like the Drudge Report. You know, you get about maybe 10% of the news stories that come from my show, I pick them up from the Drudge Report because he does cover a lot of good things. But, you know, here lately, I guess we're lacking in news right now. We have to get the tabloid version of the Drudge Report. And that's what pretty much CNN and MSNBC and even Fox News, they have their own version of a tabloid now. They're stretching the news out as far as they can go, and even people here on the radio are stretching the information out because there's not enough to talk about right now. They try to manufacture the stuff, but the people are tired about hearing about Trump, so you can only go on about him so much, and maybe how, they got an intruder and somebody tried to, get into the White House. He had a backpack. It's like there's only so much to talk about when it comes to Trump. He hasn't done a whole lot. The people are sick and tired of the protesters, so they don't want to talk about that. That little women's march, we'll talk about that later on. But nobody really covered it because we're sick of it. It's just to us. So, anyways, we got to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. More on the flip side of this. Please check out our sponsors and support them, because when you support them, they continue to support us.
Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
CRRM, CarePoint Building Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shape the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com.
Follow them at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look them up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
And allow me to do a little bit of self-promotion. If you like what you're hearing on the John LeBang Show and you would like to know more, then please go to our website. That's www.jlebang.com. You can email us your requests, your content information, even music from your band to jlebang@live.com. If you like videos, then you can go to our YouTube channel and look us up at youtube.com/LeBangYourHead, or just check in the search engine Banger Incorporated. Now, if you're doing the Twitter thing, we do the Twitter thing, and if you want to tweet about us or follow us, just look us up at John LeBang. And finally, if you're on Facebook, then come look us up on Facebook, because we're there, and like our page at The John LeBang Show, because we like it when you like that page. This half hour is brought to you by Pane and the Glass Window Cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane and the Glass Commercial and Residential Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable minds who collaborate must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we're winding down this week's broadcasting schedule, we're here in the last 30 minutes, and we still have a whole bunch of topics I want to cover. And I don't know where to begin, actually. So we're going to start with, we've got some Fukushima news. Over at Fukushima, they want to let some people back into the areas that were very close to the Fukushima Daiichi plant there, and within a few miles of it or kilometers. But they can't let people back in there because they are infested with radioactive boars. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me right. Radioactive boars. And the government is now attempting to try to clear these boars out who have come down from the highlands there, and they've come into basically this little town that they had to evacuate because of all the radiation that was spewing out of these plants. These boar have taken over the area, droves, hundreds and hundreds of them. And they're all radioactive because they've been eaten out of the ground, and they've been in this safe little, city or former ghost town. We'll just call it a ghost town. And they took it over. And so now the Japanese government has to go in there and clean these boars out because they want to let the people back in there. Because people want to get back in there. And the first question is, why would you want to go back to this area? And they are still having issues with, not being able to decommission 3 of the 4 reactors. And we have this problem of molten radioactive material with basically hardly any containment. And they're allowing people to move back in there. Or they want people to move back in there. They're scheduled to be brought back in there. And they're cleaning out these boars. And, that's an interesting development in that situation. I, of course, don't think I would want to go back at all, because it just doesn't it just doesn't seem long enough for that to have been diminished enough to where it would be safe for me bringing my children or myself in there. But that's just me. Apparently the Japanese government knows better. Then, of course, we had the Women's Day off, or women take a day off because they were upset over that women aren't treated fairly here in the United States. And a bunch of feminist groups and groups of alike got together, teachers unions and others got together, and they went out there and protested away. And it was supposed to be a day where they would prove that women were so important to the workforce that it would shut things down. And it didn't quite have that effect at all. It barely had a ripple effect. I know the women that I work with both were at their job that day. They weren't out doing that because they had to work and they had to make money, and making money was a little bit more important than going out there and protesting over something that apparently they couldn't figure out what they were actually protesting. You know, that happens at these protests sometimes. You get a bunch of people together and they say, well, they're protesting, so let's go down there and protest with them. And they're protesting something different than the other people are protesting. And then by the end of the day, there's 10 or 20 or 30 different small little groups that are protesting. And it looks like one big group, but they don't have one big voice. They have a bunch of little voices that don't really matter. And I think that's why a lot of people are out there protesting, is they feel like they don't matter, and the truth is not many of us do matter, and it's okay that we don't matter. I mean, who do you want to matter to? That's my question. Who do you want to matter to? Because it should be just the people in your life and maybe your job. That's about all you want to matter to. Who are you trying to press beyond that? Trying to be a big old radio star, or maybe you're trying to be a CEO in a company? I guess you got to impress people then. But do you really matter then? So we have that. It'd be interesting if we had a day where men would do the same thing and see what kind of effects it would have on the country's finances, on the economic side of things. I think it would actually make a bigger impact, but I also think that will never happen because it wouldn't be tolerated that men would do that sort of thing. So what else do we have in the news? There's a lot of things to talk about. Oh, we had the FBI using the people over there at Best Buy, your buddies that you would take it in, the Geek Squad over there. Yeah, they would go over there and use those guys to basically use you and use them, I should say, as secret agents, which is a nice revelation. Now you can't trust your Geek Squad guy, your Best Buy person, because they may be spying on you for the government. It's not bad enough that we have our TVs doing it and our phones doing it, our laptops doing it, our iPads doing it, but now we have the people at Best Buy and the Geek Squad doing it. Why not? Have everybody paranoid of everybody, and then it's way more fun here in the country. Everybody's riled up, and then we get to yell at each other for stupid things. We get pissed off, we get mad, and then we start trolling each other on everybody's wall, spewing our garbage when we could do it on our wall, and then we wouldn't, offend anybody. But you get ignored when you put it on your wall, isn't that? That's probably the way it goes. So there's that. A lot of good stuff in the news, we got Barry Obama, his brother Malik. He's out there showing a photo of Barry's birth certificate because now I guess Malik is a birther himself. The problem is this birth certificate is from Kenya. And apparently BO hasn't said anything about it, but, his brother is showing the birth certificate from Kenya, and the news media isn't giving him any talk at all. They're not asking him to come on any shows and, prove that that's it. They're just basically ignoring him. So that's another subject there. I didn't know Malik was a birther, but apparently he says Barack Obama was born in Kenya. I think Michelle Obama also said that.
Barack has led by example. When we took our trip to Africa and visited his home country in Kenya.
So I guess he's just confirming what she said. So that's something there. It's just the news. There's so much of it. And most of it is a bunch of BS. You start reading through it. Oh, and let's not forget this is a good one. So you people in New York, if you want to be a teacher, way easier now. Way easier, because New York has decided that you don't have to be literate to be a teacher. You actually can be illiterate, because they're having too many teachers fail the literacy test.
Cool. Fire.
That they're considering dropping that requirement so you can teach in school. So that's a good thing. So I'm sure if you're living out there in New York, that's making you happy, that you can take your dumb kid to school and they won't have to be able to read. They can actually get through without reading, be illiterate, and then they can still be a teacher, and they can teach. I don't know what they can teach at that point. Hopefully they know something by then. Maybe you teach them street smarts or something. I don't know. But yeah, New York has got such high standards that they're going to allow they're considering, I should say, allowing the requirement of literacy. They're going to get rid of that. So that's nice.
Don't touch that dial. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
You can bet on it, man.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Row. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you're getting married soon and you need good entertainment, you need to contact John LeBang. He's got 30 years of experience of wedding entertainment under his belt, and there is no one better and no one cheaper. He's running a special to the end of the year, $500 for your wedding if you book now. Contact John LeBang by email at jlebang@live.com or go to his website. That's www.jlebang.com.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
So here I have two items of apparent news. One is a rumor that, frankly, is more than a rumor, yet it hasn't made the mainstream yet and will soon, and we're going to talk about that. And the other is an actual fact, and we'll begin with that one, and that's the fact that Black Sabbath has announced after their tour that called The End that they are ending as Black Sabbath. They put out a statement on Facebook, and then they did the tour saying this was the way they were going to end it, and they pretty much put the Black Sabbath band, the name, the brand name, to bed in a good manner, in a very honorable way. And they can be proud of how they came back together, built this thing, did an album, did a couple tours, and finished off on a high note. On the other hand, we have the rumor, which I can tell you is pretty accurate, and that you'll be beginning to hear about this in the coming weeks, more in the mainstream news, and that is Angus Young and Axl Rose are going to begin work, or have begun work, on a new AC/DC album. That's right. Although to me it won't be AC/DC. I mean, how you had to replace the brain when Malcolm went down. You had to replace the legs of the band when Phil Rudd went down. You put on legs you had in reserve. You just had them hanging around. No offense to Mr. Slade there. Then the voice of the band, you lost the voice, so now they replaced it with a used voice. The head's still not the same. They've got a mask on it, but it no offense to Stevie Young, but he's not Malcolm, and Malcolm was the brains of the band. Angus has taken over for the brains. Angus was the heart of the band, so the heart is now thinking for the band. That usually isn't a good thing, by the way. And now Cliff Williams decided he wasn't going to come back in the band after their tour, and he announced that back in July. So essentially the band retired as we knew it at the end of the tour, which was around, the fall. Pretty close to my prediction that they would retire. Angus, who doesn't want to officially retire, but everybody else is retired or no longer wanted in the band. And they've replaced everything. They've replaced the head of the band with a mask. No offense to Stevie. They've replaced the voice with a different voice. Some people like the voice better. They've replaced the legs of the band, and they've replaced the back of the band, the spine. So we've got AC/DC, but it's not AC/DC. It's like trans AC/DC, robotic AC/DC, artificial AC/DC. And they're going to begin work on a new album. And I'm sure the music's going to be great, because I'm not putting down Angus or Axl Rose per se. It's just doing it under the banner of AC/DC when 80% of the parts have been replaced in the last few years. And the only thing left is the heart. That's it. The heart is still beating. But everything else is new, mechanical, manufactured. And it's like the complete opposite of Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath came back together and went out on a high note. AC/DC is being constantly pieced together so it can continue on as the brand name, because the brand name sells. And sure, the average consumer, the average listener of AC/DC, not the diehard fans, and some of the diehard fans like the change to Axl. But they can't really call it AC/DC anymore. It's new AC/DC. The Neo AC/DC. AC/DC revised. Angus DC something. Call it something besides AC/DC. That's where I'm headed with this. They don't have to call it AC/DC for it to sell, because people will go see Angus Young and they will go see him with Axl Rose. There's no doubt about it. Just don't call it AC/DC, but they're going to call it AC/DC. And you're hearing this for the first time. And it probably won't hit the mainstream news for 2, 3, 4 weeks, because this is inside information, I'm telling you. And I'm just, AC/DC be my favorite band. I would like them to go out on a high note. I don't want to remember them as this band that kept putting the Band-Aid on to keep it going. Put another guy in there. I mean, I know local bands like that. That's a thing local bands do. The only guy surviving left from the original act is still the guitar player, still trying to rock it out like he's some boxer, right? Still trying to knock it out. With all new members, all the time you're changing a new guy here, a new guy there, because you have to keep piecing the band together. That's something some local crappy band does, not AC/DC. They're legends, and I feel like it's tarnishing the legend. And again, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, well, Axl Rose is a better singer than Brian Johnson, and this stuff's going to be great, and it might be awesome music. I love what Angus does on guitar. He's a great writer. I do. Axl sings pretty well. He can be a good singer at times. So there's no doubt the new music coming out is going to sound pretty good. They're going to have a good producer. They're going to have possibly the Chris Slade on drums and Stevie Young on guitar. I don't know who they're going to play on bass. Probably piece in some guy from another band. That's what these old bands are starting to do. If you can't keep the band together, they just piece in a guy now. That's the one downfall with the whole Black Sabbath thing. They didn't have Bill Ward for whatever reasons. We've heard reasons from all sides. But they didn't have Bill Ward for the final 2 tours or on the album. And that was the one sad part of this final ending for Sabbath. But they did their best, because they didn't get along throughout the years. They did their best to come together at the end to put together a great product for people to enjoy them one last time or 2 last times. And then they fade off into the sunset. Ozzy's going to go do his stuff. Tony's going to do whatever. Geezer's going to do whatever. I don't know what's going to happen there. Geezer and Tony are really good friends. They've stayed together a long time. They only had small time periods where they weren't together. So, but with the AC/DC thing, it's like you're piecing together, you're morphing whatever you can get your hand on. So we're going to get some famous bass player. I have a feeling we're going to get some famous guy that was in like Tom Petty, or he was in some other band. Maybe he was in Guns N' Roses. Maybe they'll bring over the Guns N' Roses bass player. Maybe they'll get somebody who was in like Quiet Riot or something. Maybe Rudy Sarzo will join the band. Is he still alive? Hope he is. Although with the way things go with AC/DC, guys fall off, they'll just replace them. And it's a shame, because I love the band. I truly love the band. And here at the end of their career, however long it will be, I'm not going to look on them as fondly. I'm going to put an asterisk next to these next few albums and just look at it as Angus DC.
John, are you ready for me yet?
Come on in, Shady. Let's knock this out.
Good, because I got a few things I want to do later.
Well, what do you want to do later?
I want to go back to that bowling alley and try for another 300.
You know, the odds of that are very slim, Shady.
You know what the odds of you getting punched in the face is?
I'd rather not know.
Well, if you keep talking, I'm going to tell you.
So what was the thing about you peeing on the guy at the register?
Just cheap beer, John.
So do you have a cool or uncool for tonight?
Yeah, and if you introduce me, I will tell you.
All right, tonight's cool or uncool is
having a countrywide man's day off.
Isn't that a little long, Shady?
That's what she said.
Well, you're going to start with that again?
Listen, you're going to either start with this or that. What do you want?
All right, our first call comes from Montreal, Canada. Wilfred, what say you?
Get to work!
Okay, thanks for your call.
He's a grumpy old man.
Yeah? Look who's talking.
I'm not grumpy, I'm crabby.
Well, they've got blue ointment for that.
Not that kind of crabs, John.
Back over to the phones. New York, what say you?
And then I tweeted, I have many millions between Facebook and Twitter. It's great. It's like owning a newspaper without the losses. It's incredible.
Thanks for your call.
He calls all the time now.
Well, it means we got some listeners.
I don't think he's listening, John.
Oh, he's listening. I said he should get rid of all the Obama leftovers on my Facebook, Shady, and then Sessions promptly asked for all the resignations.
Well, that doesn't mean he was listening to you, John.
Well, what else does it mean?
It means somebody's finally thinking up there.
Back out to the phone, Chicago. What say you?
Oh, my baby daddies don't work anyways!
Okay, thanks for your call.
Must be on the government plan.
Sanctuary City, you're up next.
Hello, John.
How you doing, Abu?
I just want to say I can't get the stain off my clothes.
What stain are you talking about, Abu?
The stain from his pee-pee.
Oh, he's talking about that incident last night, John.
And I'm very upset about it.
Shady, I think you should apologize.
Apologize for what?
What do you mean for what? For staining my clothes.
How can you tell the difference between what I left and what the camels left?
I know.
John, just hang up on him.
Well, we haven't got a cool or uncool out of him yet.
Well, he sounds like he's an uncool, John.
This is not cool. I spit on your camel.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Okay, that's good enough for tonight, John. Time to leave.
What are you, in a rush?
Damn right. Something I gotta do.
What's that?
Some thinking, John. Bye.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another week of broadcasting excellence right here on the John LeBang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain.
I'd like to thank all my affiliate stations. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening and participating in the show. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John LeBang signing off from the Banger Studios.
1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.
John LeBang Show.
Hey, Joe.
Shady, why are you calling me?
I'm in need of some help.
Where are you?
I'm in the toilet.
What do you need help with?
I just ran out of TP. Can you send that robot thing down to bring me some?
Well, she's cooking dinner, Shady.
Well, what's she making?
I think it's tuna.
Forget it, y'all. I'm gonna be in here a while. Send her later. Bye.